right, our next performer is Brendan Shukar, who's an actor, writer, and advocate for people living with HIV. His most recent performance was in the James Franco, Travis Matthew collaborative project, Interior Leather Bar. So welcome, Brendan.
Pardon me while I readjust all this stuff, guys.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
The first time I experienced another man's cum, I was 16 years old. It was October 30th, 1997, and I was on my knees in a bathroom stall on the campus of UCSD during a performance of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The boy in front of me, his name was Justin. And in the future, he would come to be my high school sweetheart, the first man I would ever share a home with, and someone with whom I would spend almost 8 years coming together and falling apart in a seemingly endless waltz dance to the rhythm of our young and fickle hearts. But for the moment, he was simply the man who had kissed me in another public restroom the week before, and while our girlfriends stood outside with their homecoming gowns and Rachel Green haircuts, waiting for us to take them home. It was a kiss that changed everything. But now, back at the theater, we watched with rapt attention as the story of this transsexual transvestite from a planet called Transylvania unfolded before us. When the Femi college kid playing Dr. Frank ran his hands along his creation's chest, our erections blossomed with Rockies. When Dr. Frank slipped into Brad's room, whispering about how good it felt to be bad, Justin grabbed my right wrist and ran the palm of my hand along his thick 8 inches, straining against the confines of the denim. And when Janet bedded Dr. Frank's monster, begging him to make her feel dirty, Justin stood abruptly and dragged me along with him to the bathroom in the lobby. Once in the stall, he kissed me again, eager and passionate in the way of high school boys. That same transformative electric kiss that just a week previously had convinced me that I was a homosexual, even before I was able to wipe away the excess saliva from my face. And then he took me by the shoulders and pushed me to my knees. I wasn't, and had never been, a particularly macho kid. But as I looked up in his warm brown eyes, and at the cocky smile on his full brown lips, I experienced a moment of hesitation as my societal programming, installed by the ambient bro culture that permeated San Diego in the 80s and 90s, attempted to assert itself, flashing warning lights of doubt and shame as my internal monologue admonished me to remember that the place I now found myself in, on my knees, in a bathroom stall, with a thick brown dick rubbing against my lips, was not my place. It was not a man's place. But all doubt vanished as he pushed his way inside of me, past my lips, across my tongue, down into my esophagus. He was gentle at first, giving my mouth and throat time to adjust to a girth that I could barely wrap one hand around. But gradually, over a span of what felt like hours, but which was in reality probably closer to 15 minutes, he accelerated in power and thrust, until at last he was fucking my face with an abandon, furiously assaulting the back of my throat as I sputtered and gasped for breath. The only thing keeping me from falling to the dirty ground below me was his fingers curled through my mop of unruly brown hair. It was in that moment that I learned there's a liberation in submission. There's a kind of ecstasy in surrender And there I knelt on this dirty bathroom floor, gasping for breath as I reveled in my newfound sexual freedom, when, with no warning, save for a brief and urgent keening, he came. My experience with my own cum was extremely limited. I wasn't much for masturbation at the time. And the loads that I had expended in my girlfriend's bedroom after her parents had gone to sleep seemed at a distant remove, deposited as they were in condoms destined to be discreetly disposed of after the act. But nothing could have prepared me for the coming deluge. A torrent of fluid, hot and thick and salty, burst into my mouth, coating my teeth, my tongue, my uvula. Justin's still thrusting dick forced his cum down into my esophagus and into my sinuses. My mouth, throat, and navel cavities were filled to the bursting with cock and cum. And the overflow came dripping out of the sides of my lips, around his big brown dick, and burned its way up and out of my nose onto my upper lip. I gasped. I struggled to breathe, to maintain my already tenuous composure, but I fell backwards. And as I did so, I puked. I tried to aim for the nearby toilet, but vomiting isn't a precision sport, even at the best of times. And instead of the porcelain bowl, my belly full of Malibu rum, Halloween candy, and Justin's gallons of seminal fluid ended up pretty evenly distributed over my shirt, the already filthy bathroom floor, and Justin's shoes and pants. He tried to help me up, but I slapped his hand away, angry, mostly at myself. I scrambled up and to the mirror in order to more fully appreciate my humiliation. To my knowledge, I have never been called a faggot with any real animus, except for one time. It happened as I stood in front of that mirror, my shirt wet with vomit, another man's cum leaking out of my nose, and tears streaming down my face. The person who said it was me. I considered killing myself to spare my parents and brothers the indignity of having a fucking faggot in their family. But only very briefly. Because as I stood there crying and crucifying myself along the crux where my pleasure and fear came together, Justin came up behind me and held me gently. He stripped off my shirt and wiped my face clean of vomit and tears and dried white cum with a handful of wet brown paper towels. I took 2 more of Justin's loads that night. One across my face and one deep inside of me. And I would take many more in the years to come. And each time, the ecstasy I found in his arms was quickly followed by guilt and fear. But I had learned a valuable lesson, standing in front of that mirror, looking so much a sorority girl on the last day of spring break. There is an antidote to that socially instilled guilt and shame that comes with loving other men. And that antidote is letting them love you in return. Thank you.